Welcome back to the Titanium Hanger. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about the Mortal Kombat Goro figure by Storm Collectibles, Premium Collectibles, officially licensed action figure. And I did get this at Gundam, which is ShowZ second site. And you just log in with the same as your ShowZ. Still accepts TH reviewer code, supports your reviewer if you care. But this is a pretty interesting figure. It's my first foray into a Storm Collectibles figure. I might have a used Storm Collectibles mixed in with my Street Fighter stuff, but we're going to take a look at this guy, and I also plan on picking up a few Storm Collectibles figures, starting with, I think Blanka is the first one I'm going to get from there, because I'm really more into the Street Fighter stuff. But this dude looks really awesome, and I don't know if we'll see another company tackle this one, or tackle it this well. But we'll talk about this. We'll talk about the good and the bad, the pluses, minuses, what I liked, and a couple things I didn't like. Coming up. Here is the packaging, and it looks pretty good. You can see the figure in there. You can see it's packed in pretty well, and it's got, you can already see this plastic that's covering it to keep it from messing up in shipping. But here's the back, and just kind of smart work, looking pretty kind of cool. Packaging, if you're wanting packaging, I got a couple of dents and dings in mine, so it didn't really show up perfect. I mean, they packed it well, but the box had some dents and dings in it, so this had some dents and dings. Anyway, that's how it looks. Alright, so here he is right out of the package, and he is a pretty big dude. He is huge, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how big he'd be. I didn't know. But wow, this is a big guy, and 4 arms, and pretty cool, interesting looking figure overall. Let's kind of get down here and look at these feet too. Yeah, getting them all in frame 100% at the same time is a bit of a challenge, but they've done some interesting stuff with this figure, and getting into looking at everything they've done, so how do you tackle a figure with 4 arms? Well, they did it. This is how they did it, and we're going to see a few things that they did in here to pull it off and make it happen. Lots of paint all over. Pretty interesting, and all the joints are real smooth, and they hold well. So, yeah, it is premium. This is, I'm like, well, what's a premium figure like this? What's it feel like? How does it work? How does it operate? Pretty well, actually, so far from what I've messed around with. But I do like a few things, like it came with this necklace on it, which is cool. It's a real necklace. It's not like sculpted in or anything. He's got, his hair can move around, and that's pretty interesting. I swapped heads, but we will swap heads in a bit. It was smooth and easy to swap heads. I haven't swapped any hands yet, but he comes with just like a ridiculous, because there's 4 hands, and so you need a different hand for each one, so each position times 4. Didn't even think about that. That's a ton of hands, and all these soft goods here, rubbery. I did find it odd that his chest was rubbery, but we'll see why here when we do the articulation and that kind of stuff. But yeah, pretty cool looking figure overall. Let's go ahead and get into these crazy hands and heads, and then we'll get into some articulation and comparisons. Starting out, we're going to get into these hands. He's got like 3 types of hands. So obviously he's got his fist that he comes with it already, which I guess let's get that in the frame. He's got his fist in there. Then he has sort of a holding hand, which I'm going to put like a holding hand in one. I'm going to put one of each of these kind of hands on there. He's got an open hand, which is kind of cool. Then he's got another, maybe this is just another holding hand. So he's the exact same one. So it's just a combination of, he's holding, he's got to have some other one. Yeah, it's this one here that kind of looks like he's reaching. So there are so many of these hands. So let's look at this and see if we put like a holding hand in here. How does that work? We're going to have it, and he's going to hold with it. Let's pop this on. Like that. That looks okay. Let's go ahead and swap this hand out. So these come on and off real easy, almost too easy. Part of it is that he's got this guard on his arm here, and so that's kind of pushing on it a little bit. Let's do kind of a splayed open hand on this side. So it comes on, it goes on real easy. Hope it doesn't fall off too easy. And then I'm going to throw a couple of different hands on this, and then we'll have a look at the whole thing. We're going to swap heads, then we're going to look at how the hands turned out with all that. Just pop the head off, really nice and smooth. And I think I'm going to put on just kind of a growling, sneering kind of head, and it just pops on nice and easy. Moves around his chest piece. Now his chest is wubba. It's not plastic. It's not hard plastic. It's wubba. It's rubber. And let's see. So that's going to pose a couple of issues there. I'll get all that fixed up here in just a second. But now looking at him, there's that head. Then we have this screaming head also, which I don't know. Maybe we want that screaming head on there. Maybe that's the one that we want. That'll make him just look super mean. Do we want him looking super mean? Maybe we do. All right, now we can take a look at his hands. I want to say that because of these arm gauntlets or his wristband, whatever you want to call these pieces, that it's harder to get these splayed hands on there, just the shape of it. And so this holding hand or the fist work better on the lower ones, the way those are. And on the upper ones, everything seems to hold on to those pretty good. But I was a little surprised how hard it was to get those on there. And then that works good. There's his head, his hands, and has a representation of each kind of the sort of reaching kind of. He's reaching hand. He's got his fist to do some punching, and then over here holding. He can hold something, and then here he has just kind of like he's gonna slap you a hand. I'm gonna go ahead and get into articulation on this guy and his head. It's on a double dog bone kind of thing there, so it does quite a bit, and you can get everything out of it that you would want. That's really good on that one. His shoulder goes out to this far, and then you can do a 360 with it. You can do pretty much everything. Very smooth joints in there, and the chest being rubber, you might have to reset that chest and put it back over these joints. He does have a butterfly, so he can grab you, and it goes back really far, and I think that's about, well, it's about the same on the lower one. And then bicep swivel, of course, like you'd expect, and only about a 90 at the elbow. And then the hands, they're on a sort of a ball joint kind of thing, but the range is going to be limited because of these pieces here. Now you do have some movement right here in the upper. Wow, that's clicking. Maybe you're not supposed to move that, but you have movement there. It feels scary, but you can get them to go back and forward, and it's clicking. It's probably a ratchet in there on purpose. Come on, put your chest back over there. And then waist swivel, ab crunch. It goes way back. Let's get this camera down for the lower area. And he goes way back, so there's quite a bit in there. He can swirl around with it. So there's a lot of great poses, and it holds really well. And then the legs goes only about that forward. So it's not like it has hyper articulation. It has what you would probably need. But on this guy, I'm really glad that he stands so well. Double jointed knees. And then the feet, they can, I don't see that it's on a ball joint, but it does move around, and it can go up and down. So it's on probably a dog bone down there. I'm not going to take it apart and look at it, but it gets the job done, everything that you need. And it's a big dude, and he stands really well, and he moves real smooth. So, yeah, I mean, premium, high-end articulation. For some comparisons, I don't really have any out-of-the-box Mortal Kombat figures to compare them to. So, this is a vintage 90s G.I. Joe version, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. But this thing towers over it and is way more accurate, you could say, than what they did with the G.I. Joe one. This was a fun deal they did back in the day, but this guy's a lot of fun in his own way. Here's next one of my Street Fighter guys that I got out of a bin somewhere for real cheap. And I don't know. Is this the correct scale? Is he supposed to be that much bigger? Is it Sagat? Is that Sagat? Is this supposed to be that much bigger than that one? But looking at them, though, they look good together, even though they're different companies. And this one is not a good figure at all. It's lacking a lot of articulation. But standing on a shelf, it looks good standing on a shelf. So mixing Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, I mean, it's just what I'm doing here. But I don't have any more Mortal Kombat figures to compare it to. But with that, it's really hard to say who's bigger than what based on the two separate video games. I know they have some carryovers and stuff. But anyhow, that's what it looks. And my plan is to pick up a couple of these to go along with my Jada collection, because they also make Street Fighter figures. All right, so what do I think about this guy as my first Storm Collectibles? I think it's my first Storm Collectibles figure. I think he looks really good. They've done a great job with the paint and the details. They've done a really good job. The articulation is not the greatest articulated figure in the world and has some limitations to it, but I don't need all of that. It gives you everything that I believe that you would need for this particular character and this figure and how you'd want to display them. I am a little curious about how they handled the chest with making rubber instead of hard plastic, and I understand why they did it. I just don't know if they really needed to do that to pull it off or not. And it does cause some issues, but it does free up like a really good butterfly and a few other things you could do a little bit better because of it. But at the end of the day, if you just work with it properly, then it looks fine. It looks good. It'll get the job done. I think it's a great figure overall. It is a $110 figure though. And with that, they did put a lot of work into it, a lot of quality. You get a ton of hands, and the sculpt is great. It works. I don't know if there'll ever be a better version of this character ever again, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you in on these? Do you buy the Storm collectible figures? And are you in on the Mortal Kombat? Are you in on the Street Fighter? Are you in on both? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe. To Hanger out.